Okay, everyone, so the recording has started. Welcome to March 15th, 2023 meeting of database administrators, database management systems. And let's see. So today we're going to do a couple things. One, we're going to first start our discussion off with a kind of basically an overview of the plan for the project, for the group project for this semester. For those of you who have already contacted me and would like to reuse your group project score from a previous year, you can just you can watch or whatever, but this is important information for those of you who will be working on the project as a group this semester. But first, quote of the day. I don't know if you guys know what today is. Today is what is sometimes called the Ides of March. It was, the quote here, beware the Ides of March, comes from the soothsayer, the fortune teller, in the play Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. And the reason why Caesar was told to beware the Ides of March was because in the play, the soothsayer is fortune telling, is foretelling that he is going to be killed on that day. And he, as often is the case in some of these stories, he ignores the soothsayer's warning and instead continues on with his life and ends up getting killed. So hopefully that doesn't happen to any of us today, but unfortunately we weren't able to celebrate Pi Day as a group yesterday because I didn't have any of you in my class yesterday, so I guess we'll celebrate Ides of March instead. All right, moving on. Let's see. Okay. So what is the purpose of a group project? Okay, why do I have this project as part of the requirements for this semester for this class? I want you to be able to gain an understanding of how to design and implement a database system. Now, I don't expect any of you to create a database system that would be on the order of Amazon or Google or Hepsiburda or any of those large scale databases or systems. All right, but I do want you to have an understanding of how to design and implement a small system. Okay, small compared to those, maybe large in your opinion, but it is going to be something that you need to be able to have an understanding of before moving on from this course. Okay. Also, want you to learn to work together as a team to achieve a goal. So you're going to have to figure out how we're going to do this together. That's going to include things like how to overcome differences of opinion of how something should be done. As you guys have heard me say many, many times, there's more than one way. There's almost always more than one way to do something. Engineers don't like to think in right and wrong. They don't like to think in the correct way to do something. We like to think in how are possible solutions to problems, and one person's solution may work well for the given problem. Another person's solution may work well also, and we have to be able to understand that differences can arise, and how do we decide, because we can't just say, okay, well, you do it your way, I'm going to do it my way on a group project, but we have to decide how we're going to choose to implement it. Okay. You need to be able to manage time and roles effectively within a group, right? So how to, not wait until the last minute, not wait until the last week before the end of the semester and say, oh, we need to do a group project and quickly throw something together, but instead of how to plan your time out. Okay. Also, a good purpose for this is how to discover the limitations of a chosen technology. Many of you, if you go with the SQL route, will probably go through will probably use a MySQL database. Okay, it's easy, it's cheap, it's free. It's free actually. You can download any of those Apache MySQL packages that I listed at the beginning of the semester, right? But MySQL has some limitations. Right, there are certain things that MySQL cannot do that we will learn about this semester, some of them, but it's not perfect. Okay, It doesn't encompass everything you might want to have. So you'll have to do things like, well, how do I make this work the way I want it to, since it doesn't do it automatically? Okay. And then as you can see here, one tiny little small print there, get a good grade. Yes, I know that is one of your purposes, right? That's one of my purposes for you, is that I would hope that you would produce something that is worthy of getting a good number of points for this. We'll talk about how that works, how you can understand what your expectations are, therefore what you should be delivering. Okay, but I do want that to be a small thing. That I really want the main thing that you guys get from this is to learn how to do these things. All right. So what am I expecting you to give me as part of your group project? Okay, some deliverables. Now we're going to do this in phases. Okay, we will do a first submission and then a final submission along with a presentation in class. Okay. But the final deliverable that you will need to give me is a database system complete with structures, tables, views, data. Should be normalized. You'll learn what third normal form is, 3NF. You'll learn what that is later this semester. Okay. A well-designed or even working prototype of a user interface. Okay. I do want to make sure that you guys understand that the user interface is not the focus of this project. Okay, I want you to understand that this is a database course, which means I do want you to focus on organizing well and designing well the database side of things. But we also understand that a database is pointless if we can't access it. The data stored in a database is pointless unless we can get to the data, manipulate the data in some way. So part of designing a database also we have to think through how will our users interact with it, and that's where that user interface comes in. So at least thinking about how the user interface will work is a very important part of this. And so for that reason, that's part of your deliverable. But again, I can tell you from the past, and you can probably talk to students who have been in this course previously, that there have been plenty of projects that had an amazing user interface. It was dynamic, it flowed, there was great artwork and everything was beautiful and well designed there. And then their database wasn't great. Their database had a lot of problems in it. We'll talk about some of the different problems that databases can have, right? And their database itself had a lot of problems, so their grade wasn't as high as they expected. Then I've had other students who their database was extremely well designed. Their user interface portion of their report was basically mock-ups, was drawn using a mock-up tool. So it wasn't a working user interface, but that was okay, and they got a very high grade because they focused on making sure the database was done well, but they did also at least acknowledge that the users would have to interact with it. Okay. Some reports, a report on how these things were done, including an ER diagram, a final ER diagram. You will learn what that means later in the semester. An example viewing of data, and then a final presentation where every member in the group should be giving a portion of the presentation. And we'll talk a little bit more about the expectations on that when that time comes, because that will come towards the end of the semester. All right. So what do you need to do now? Why am I bringing this up now? Because you're probably thinking, Hojam, you said ER diagram, which we've never even heard of before, and that's coming. And you say we're going to talk about that later. And you said third normal form, which we've never even heard of any normal forms before, and you said we talk about that later. So why are we bringing this up now? I wanted to go ahead and give you an idea of what the expectations were. I also want to tell you that to go ahead and start forming the group now. If you have a group of friends or a group of colleagues that you'd like to do a project with, please form that group with between 4 to 6 members. I don't expect to allow any groups that are more than 6 members, because really 6 is quite high in my opinion. but I can't imagine any reason that I would need to approve a group of 7 or more. But one of the things that I want you to do is pick a group leader. Okay, this group leader will be the person who contacts me, and all communication for the group will go through this group leader. Please pick someone in the group that is very, very good about communication. Okay, I've had some of the problems that have arisen in the past with groups has been that some group members have contacted me after the fact saying, well, our group leader never contacted us and told us any things that you said. Choose someone that you trust, someone that has proven himself or herself consistently able to communicate well. Okay, form a WhatsApp group. That'd probably be the easiest thing. All right, that person, your group leader, should email me and CC all the other group members. Okay, if you don't have a group project idea yet, that's fine. But if you know who you want to work with, go ahead and at least send me that so that I can like group you guys and say, okay, this group is going to be working together. The reason why I ask you to CC all the other group members is because if you say, oh, I'm adding John to my group, if you email me and say John is going to join my group, and then I add John to your group, and then later John tells me he doesn't have a group, I'll say, well, you're in this group over here, and he says, well, I never agreed to that, right? If you CC all the other group members, then that gives me confidence that they know that they're part of your group, okay? Because sometimes I've had this happen where students have agreed to join a group, and then later some other group comes to them and says, hey, we really want you to be part of our group, and they've agreed to that group. Okay, so then I have one student, 2 groups think that they're a part of it, and it can cause a big mess. So just make sure you CC the other group members on this. All right. Do choose a project idea soon, because a topic I will only allow it to be duplicated once. I used to not allow any duplicates, but as this course has grown bigger and bigger, it has become harder to not allow duplicates in project ideas, because there's just only so many ideas that are big enough to be a semester project, but small enough to that are big enough to be a semester project. Because so once I have a list on the next slide of all the potential projects that are pre-approved. Basically, if you choose one of them, automatically you can know that your project idea is already acceptable. If you want to submit an additional idea that is not on this list, feel free to do that, and I will approve it if it is sufficient, if I think it's sufficiently complex for a semester project. Okay. Again, you will have 2 submissions and a presentation. Around the time of the midterm, depending on when the midterm is, I will have a submission assignment for you to submit the current version of what you've got. A report will be good enough. I will have some particulars about what will be expected in that. Okay. Then the customer, quotes customer, me, will review your database and will make additional requests. Okay. The customer will look at your design, and they will say, and you'll have feedback on the design itself, saying things like whether you did certain things in a way that is reasonable or not. But then every group will have additional requests. Customers love to add new requirements to our systems. Oh, you didn't have this in the original requirements, but I really, really want this, right? Okay, so when that time comes, the final submission and the presentation will show that you satisfied those requests. Okay. One thing I wanted to let you know, when the customer is asking for additional requests, some groups in the past have not understood what that meant. Some groups in the past have said, oh, customer, that's not part of our project. That's why we didn't include it originally. Yeah, the customer knows that wasn't part of your project. That's why they want you to add it. Okay, so Yeah, so kind of like that. Kind of like Google didn't used to have email because it was outside of their original mission statement. But at some point, somebody said, what would be really nice is if Google had email, right? So they added it. Okay. As I have stated before, if you wish to reuse the previous group project grade, I need to have an email by Friday, this Friday, 17th of March 2023, so that I can make a note of who is not going to be doing any group project this semester because you're using an old score. Oh, one other thing in regards to the forming of the group. So as what will happen, as has happened every semester, is slowly all the students in the class will be getting added to groups, added to groups, added to groups. Okay. When I get to the end of the semester, there will be some number of students who are not been added to any group. I will randomly assign them as a group. So if I end up with 5 students at the end of this, in a couple weeks, if I end up with 5 students who are not part of a group, those 5 students will become a group. If I end up with 10 students who are not in a group, then I'll make 2 groups out of that. Okay. What could happen sometimes in the past, I've had students who have asked me, oh, can I make a group of 2 people or can I make a group of 3 people? Depending on the other group makeup, I can approve that, but I might end up adding a random person to you later in the semester. Okay, so make sure that you're aware of that if you ask to be a group of 3, that after a week and a half of working on the project, you might get a new member added to your group randomly because that person doesn't have a group on their own. Okay, so do your best to try to find 4 to 6 people that can work together. All right, so finally, for this group project discussion, some potential projects that are pre-approved, right? An inventory of products for a shopping website such as Amazon or eBay. Student records for a school, a high school, or a university. This could even be something like MEB even. This could be like so I just had to go on the MEB website this week to print off a record showing that my son is in a school here, right? They keep a lot of information in the MEB system. I don't think I have, there's a hospital management system, but you've also got eNABES and eDevLet and all kinds of systems like that are also possible, right? Okay, so again, these are some potential projects that I would say would be pre-approved for a semester project of this kind. Okay, all right. Questions before we go back to SQL? Okay, all right. If you have any questions that you didn't want to ask in the group chat, that's fine. Just let me know through email or through messaging so that I can answer them. All right, so oh yeah, that's where we're headed now. SQL. All right, let's see. Let's see here. So this is where we left off. All right, last week we were talking about using the group by in select queries to be able to use aggregate functions for the purposes of understanding totals by group, or we talked about what were some of the minimum by a group, the maximum by a group, the average, the count, right? Things like that, right? Okay, so I gave this as an example where based on the information in the table, right? If we said, okay, what is the branch number, how many staff they have, what is the total salary they have from staff, we get this information here, right? We could also use the having to say, okay, but I only want where the count column is greater than 1. So when there's more than one record, more than one staff person at that particular branch, right? And some of you saw, where are you? All right. Some of you, when I went over here and I created this, right, this result query here, if I did the branch, the staff number, and the salary, right, and I said this was the query that we looked at, having count greater than 1, and I said I offered a bonus 5 on the midterm to the first 5 students who were able to tell me, explaining what the result of this query and the why, okay, and the result, explaining the result of this query, okay. So the only difference I added was I only added this part right here, where salary is greater than 10,000. Okay. All right. So let's take a look. So what I've done. Okay. So I've created here. If I look at the hold on. Let me copy this first because I don't want to lose it. Okay, so I went through and I created the table just like they have in the example data on what's it called, on the slides here that we talked about. All right. So now if I run the query that we talked about, first one. Okay, so let's first do that. Let's take out that and take out that so that you can see what happens with this. Right, that looks just like what we talked about before, right? That looks just like that set, right? 321, 54, 39, 9, right? 321, 54, 39. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then, let's see, where are you? Show query box. There we go. So now if we did this, having count greater than 1. Where's my go button? Ah, there it is. Okay. All right. We see that our 1 went away, right? Okay. Now, let's take out that right there and see how this changes. All right, so now we end up with just this record, okay? Now, based on the explanations that were given, I think some of you got the right answer for possibly the wrong reason. So let me make sure you understand the reason, okay? So let's talk through what these things are, what is happening here. Okay, so let's see. Here we have, so we're getting this information, right? The count, the branch number, the count of staff, the sum of their salaries from staff, where salary is greater than 10,000. Okay, so the first thing that happens is it's going to say, okay, let me get rid of any records where the salary is greater than 10,000. Okay, so let me copy this down here and then show you. Okay, so I'm going to copy down here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the records that we don't need. Okay, so salary greater than 10,000. So we're going to remove the salaries that are less than 10,000. Okay, there we go. All right. Now, what the query is going to do is it's going to say, okay, group by the branch number and give me a count and a sum of the salary. So for B005, it's going to give me 1 because there's only 1 record. Okay. And then it's going to give me the sum of their salary, which is this. Okay. I'm copying this so that it has the same color scheme to it. So not for any other reason. Okay. Now, the count for the B003 is how many? B003 is how many? Yeah, 3. Good, good. Okay. Okay. And the salary, the sum of the salary is? Well, let's see, 12 plus 18 is 30, plus that is 5,400. Yep. Okay. Okay. So this is the result up to the group by part. So we finished the group by part now. Okay. Oh, there's another, now there's another thing. So having count greater than 1. So now it's going to remove any row, any result where this is 1 or less. Okay, so we're going to delete that. So this is the result we end up with. So B007 was removed from our result because of the where clause. Okay. But then B005 was removed from our result because of the having clause. So they weren't removed for the same reason. They showed up in the, if we go back and look at the query that was without either of those, that had this was gone, having was gone, there was no where clause. If we look back at that, we had all 3 branches showed up, right, with 3, 2, 1 and those sum values. Right now we have only 1 branch, but the other 2 branches were each removed for different reasons. 1 due to the where clause, 1 due to the having clause. Okay. so then that makes me want to ask this question. What if I got rid of that? Okay. Will it be the same as before? Will it be this result again? Or will it be different? And what will be the difference? Yeah, a lot of you saying no. A lot of you saying no, it won't be the same. I'm assuming you're saying it won't be the same. But what will be the difference if there's a difference? Yeah, one of the branches will show. Let's see. Yep, the other branch will show as a count of 1 because now we are no longer, if we go back and show the query box again, we are no longer removing it because it had the count of 1, right? Let's see. One of you guys mentioned that you thought there was going to be an error. One of the nice things about MySQL is a lot of times, not always, I won't say always because you guys know me, always and never are not my thing, right? If there's some type of typographical error, such as, let's say this is spelled incorrectly, this would actually end up with an error. Sometimes it'll end up with this little, it'll tell you this, like, what is that? I don't know what that means, right? This should give an error because it's numbered, because the column is spelled incorrectly. Yeah, right? But a lot of times, not always, again, not always, but a lot of times if you have some type of error in your SQL, it'll show up. Also, another nice thing about MySQL is if you start typing it, it lets you have it right there, so you can just click on it. All right. Some of you use IDEs for Java that do that. Like I know Eclipse does, but I don't know how many of you use Eclipse. I think IntelliJ does also. So MySQL can help you out with that kind of stuff too. Okay. And when we start talking about aliases, because today's lecture slides will talk about multiple tables. We can give alias to our tables. and then S dot gives me the column list from the staff table. So, all right. Okay. So that was the reason for that. All right. So again, like I said, some of you answered with a correct answer. I'm not sure if you completely, based on your explanation, not sure if you completely understood the why of it, but I won't hold that against you because the truth is fewer than 5 students responded. So that's how I'm going to work it. The 5 of you that responded, you're good to go. And that will now, because we've explained it in class, I will no longer accept any submissions about this question. All right, going forward, because we've already discussed it now. And be aware though that I will probably give other questions like this semester where I will put it in some of that material, like that extra material in the class materials folder, where I may put a note like that in an example spreadsheet or an example set of data or something. And I may put a note like that that says, if you respond, I'll give this bonus point or something like that. Okay. Okay. So I'm encouraging you check out the class materials folder frequently. All right. Okay. We talked about having. Okay. This is now going to be new material from where we left off last week. One of the other great powerful things about SQL is that it can allow for subqueries, okay, where we can have a query result be used as part of a where clause or even a from clause or even a select clause of a parent query or an outer query. Okay, so let's kind of take a look here. Okay, also the select subqueries being in the insert, update and delete statements, super helpful, okay? Especially the insert, so we can insert multiple rows at once. Okay, when we get there, I don't know if we'll get to inserts today. We should, I hope. We're supposed to. Yeah, we're supposed to. Okay, maybe running a little bit late, but we'll see. Okay, so here, we want to list the staff who work in a branch whose address is 163 Main Street. Okay. Now, the problem is that the address 163 Main Street is stored in the branch table, not the staff table. All right. So what we need to do is we need to figure out, okay, what branch are we talking about? And then we need to ask our query to select all staff who work at that particular branch. Okay. Now, what we could do is we could go run this query, select branch number from branch where street equals 163 Main Street, go run that query, then copy the result, copy the branch number result into this where clause of this query and run that query ourselves. But that's a lot of extra work for us, isn't it? That's saying, oh, I need to go run this query. Then I need to copy and paste into this other query and then run that query, right? That's a lot of extra work for us, and we can't in any way expect that our users would be able to do this, right? Because again, we don't want our users having to know SQL. I mean, your average person looking for a house on Sahib and Den right now is probably not knowledgeable in SQL. Right. So what we do instead is we use a subquery to get that result of the branch number. Then we use that as the right-hand part of the equal sign, right here, right-hand part of the comparison in the where clause, to say, now, give me all the staff from the staff table where their branch number matches the branch number from the branch table that has this street address. Okay. I don't know if they give that as a result here or not. Yeah. All right. So this works kind of like this, where the inner select first goes out and finds the branch number B003, and then it runs this query as if we had typed this, okay? As if we had typed it. It doesn't actually put that value there, it just runs it as if, okay? All right, okay. We can also do a subquery with an aggregate. So let's say that we wanted to list any staff people whose salary is greater than the average, and we want to know how much more than average are they, right? So the first piece of information we'll need to know is we need to know what the average salary is. So we can get that from the staff table by using an aggregate function. Select the average salary from the staff. That tells us what the average salary of all staff people in our database is. All right. Then the outer select says, give me any staff results where their salary is greater than the average. And then as part of the results set, we can say, also give me their staff number, their name, their last name, their position, and what is the difference of their salary to the average salary of the entire company. Okay. So here we are able to use a subquery both as part of the where clause and as part of the select clause. Okay. So we unfortunately would not be able to write where salary is greater than average salary because, again, the average here, the average aggregate function would be a part of the query that there is no group by. There's other columns that are being selected, and we learned earlier that we could not do that. Right? So we can use the subquery to find the average and then use the where clause to get only those people who are greater than average. There are a few rules to the subqueries, but some of these are actually outdated. I can't remember which ones are outdated right off the top of my head, but I will figure them out because I'm sure I will run into them when we start doing examples. Okay. There's really, in theory, no limit to how many subqueries we can do. Right. So we can have an outer query that gets a staff number in a result set from a subquery that itself gets the branch number from a subquery. Okay. So here we're saying, I want to know the properties that are currently being handled by the staff who work at 163 Main Street. So we need to find out what branch that is because we need to find out which staff people handle these properties. And we also need to find out which properties are being handled by those staff people because the property for rent table has a staff number column indicating which staff person is handling that property, managing that property. Okay. Question for discussion. If I can get my pen over here, where are you? There we are. Okay. This one has an equal sign. This one has an N. Why? Why the difference? Why is one an equals and one is N? Does it matter? Right, so N is the set of, right? But Why did they use an equals? Why didn't they use n and n or equals and equals? What would have happened? What would have happened had this been an equals, or what could have happened if this had been an equals? Or this had been an n. Yeah. Something bad. Yeah. Yeah, n several values are okay. Equal only a value. Yes, only a single value is okay. Yeah. Okay. So Adhikan, you're on the right track there for sure. Okay. Because equals means that a result must have had one single result had to have happened. So we are saying where the branch number is this value. Okay. N is if there is a set of values here, we want to get ones where this one is is in that set, right? So had this subquery, branch number from branch where street is this, had this resulted in more than one branch, we would have gotten an error. Because a single column branch number cannot be equal to a set of branch numbers. It has to be a single branch number. This subquery, the way that we've written it, we're forcing this to have one and only one result. Okay. Now, current versions of MySQL do allow for this subquery to have 0 results. If no branch numbers are returned from this subquery, this outer query would not result in an error in current versions of MySQL. Not true of other DBMSs. I know that I'm going to date myself, but I know that over 10 years ago, Oracle, if this branch number had, this subquery down here had given 0 results, this whole query would have resulted in an error in the version of Oracle I worked with about 10 to 15 years ago. So this, for Oracle, this would have been has to be 1 and only 1. For current versions of MySQL, has to be 1 or 0 in order for this query not to result in an error. But n, either way, n allows for 0, 1, 2, 3, 23, hundreds of results. Okay, and it just checks, is it in that set? All right. Okay. Let's do one more set and then we will take our break. Okay. Use of any and all. I'm going to just briefly cover them because I choose to do these queries differently than the way that they show them, and I'll explain why maybe after the break. But we can use any or some as a keyword to say I want to get all staff. All the staff information where their salary is greater than some salary from the staff where branch number is B003. Okay. And what we're really saying is I want to know all staff people in the entire company who have a salary greater than the minimum salary from a particular branch. Okay. So here the inner query produces the set 12, 18, and 24,000. Right? And the outer query will select any staff whose salaries are greater than any of these values. So if it's greater than 12,000, I'll get that one. If it's greater than 18,000, I'll get that one. If it's greater than 24,000, I'll get that one. Well, if it's greater than 12,000, then it's greater than 18. It's greater than 24, right? So it's really all we really need to know is it greater than 12,000? Is really all we need to know, right? Okay. All would be similar, but on the other side of things, is it greater than all of the salary values from the staff? Okay. So since again here we're saying give me the salaries from the staff table that work at branch B003. Well, what were our results for that here? The 12, 18, and 24. Well, it has to be greater than 12 and greater than 18 and greater than 24,000. Well, if it's greater than 24,000, it's greater than the other two also, right? So we're only going to get values that are greater than 24,000, which means we could just say, give me all the salary that's greater than the max of these, right? Okay, so that's how you can use all or any, all or some. Okay. Again, what I'll do is we'll take our break now because we've kind of run just over it. So we'll take our break here now, and then when we come back, I'll kind of explain better how I would write those queries using the min and max. And again, not the right or wrong way to do it, just different. Okay. All right. So we'll talk about that when we come back from the break, unless somebody has any pertinent questions before we break. All right, I'll end the recording and we can break and come